Welcome to Imperial Interlude, episode 24 if I'm not mistaken. Ralph is with me and today we are discussing, spoiler alert, the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 2. So Ralph,
Indeed.
welcome.
Hello and welcome. Yes, indeed. We are discussing Chapter 2, or the Tribes of Tatooine, or as I put it occasionally, Dancers with Banthas.
Well, I'd say this episode was more something along the lines of Lawrence of Tatooine.
Lawrence of Tatooine is the other one I've heard. And,
Well, making things short, if you've seen this episode and you've seen the artwork after the show, you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about.
Indeed. Some of that artwork I noticed as well is very reminiscent of some of the Ralph McQuarrie artwork, you know.
Yeah.
I wonder if it is some of the Ralph McQuarrie concept pieces that we got for especially the stuff with the Tuscan next to the half of the ship, which looked like, the bit at the end of the episode where he was making something, which, spoilers, will get there eventually. But that very much that set looked like taken from that Ralph McQuarrie piece of art.
I think they've really gone to town on Ralph McQuarrie's artwork over the last episodes of The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and why wouldn't they? It's a treasure trove of inspirational artwork, and it looks fittingly for Star Wars, so why waste it?
I think Ralph McQuarrie and Doug Chang as well, who's one of the other concept artists, because as we're talking before we were recording about, if anybody's interested, if you go onto YouTube and search Fat Man Beyond, it's the Kevin Smith podcast, and they had the cinematographer for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba, Dave Klein, on. They were able to get a 10-minute short, quick interview with him because he's busy filming at the moment. I wonder what he could be filming. Mando season 3. And he was saying they are, when they go back to look at the world of Star Wars, almost, from a point of view when they're filming and getting shots and getting the concepts and things around it, especially the stuff in the volume. It's a lot of, they look at Ralph McQuarrie, but they also look at the starting points, Doug Chen on it as well, which is really interesting. And something from the interview, which we'll get in the episode a bit more in a moment about this, is I didn't know is the volume isn't round.
Yes, it's
because
almost
of sound.
360.
Well, no, it's round, but it's not a round shape because sound bounces off round walls easily. So if you're standing in the middle, and you get that horrible echo or reverb, from if you're speaking and the sound hits that wall and then bounces back to you, yeah? So the volume is actually a 360 oval in shape. It's not a circular shape, it's an oval.
From memory, if I think about the production videos they did for Boba Fett, for Mandalorian, it must be a very slight oval.
It'll be a slight. I think they've refined it though. Remember, because that was like version 1, wasn't it? We're now like version 2 or version 3 of the thing, which is called Stagecraft. But yeah, it's so the sound doesn't bounce back, so you don't get that horrible echo or the that type of thing from when they're recording on the soundstage.
Yeah, and if I were to guess, I'd say the side where the camera is sitting, that's the long side, so that the opposing side is actually a longer thing, and the sound isn't reflected back to the camera.
It was just interesting because I think a lot of people, myself included, thought it was a complete circle, and you walked into it, and it was because your traditional 360 is that, isn't it? It's a complete circle around it, but
it's a circle in the same sense the Earth is a perfect ball.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess it's just how far away you're from it. It just looks that way. It may be more noticeable if you're standing inside of it or next to it, but the pictures that I saw, it really looks like a almost perfect circle.
And something else he mentioned, which was quite interesting, is they don't use storyboards anymore. The old traditional. He has a flat storyboard of what's going on in each scene. All of the episodes were done as animatics. They were all plotted out first in the computer, which we knew because it was mentioned on the Disney Gallery series that it was.
Yeah.
That it was that they were plotted out as animatics because it's a way of trying to plot the scenes.
And
with
also,
with the volume.
It helps with projecting something later on.
Yeah.
And using the lighting inside the set.
Yep. So just some interesting things. But if people are interested, if you go into YouTube and search Fat Man Beyond, the latest episode's up there, and they, like I said, they've got an interview with Dave Klein. So if people are interested, pop along and have a listen. It's quite interesting.
But there's been a lot after you've listened to our podcast.
I was going to say only after you've listened to us. And there's been quite a bit of that this week, if you've noticed. And I think I've linked some videos to Tim about this. There's been a lot of press this week with interviews with Tamura Morrison and Ming-Na Wen about Boba and stuff, hasn't there? There's been a huge influx after 2 episodes.
So I have to say at least the ones I watched, felt a bit staged.
Well, they all are. I think it's your traditional sort of media scrum of they only get 5 each sort of media outlet, because these interviews seem to be all about the same size. I think are only getting 5 minutes with them. So it is very much a conveyor belt of this is what's going on. But I know on a couple of the interviews, as well as Ming-Na Wen had to step in to stop Tamura Morrison from spoiling anything.
You're talking too much. I'm talking too much. But did I tell you?
Yeah.
Watch out for
those Disney snipers coming in. You'll get the reputation of same as Tom Holland or Mark Ruffleberg.
All of a sudden, you've got an arrow to the knee with a letter from cease and desist from Disney or something.
Yeah, the mouse is not happy.
The mouse sends his regards.
You wake up with a Mickey Mouse head in your bed.
A severed, goofy head.
Yeah. Anyway, should we talk about the episode?
I guess we should.
Yeah. So it opened.
First off, this is a much longer episode than the opening one.
It was, yes,
almost an hour.
Which I noticed the runtime went. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what they're going on here. Now, it didn't feel like an hour though.
No, it was a very tight, almost tightly scripted 30 minutes, like my show with Gary on Tuesdays. I
was going to say it's like your tightly scripted 30 minutes, isn't it? But it was quite. It didn't seem like that hour. And I want like everything else, we wanted to just continue, of course. But I mean,
nothing that was on screen felt like it overstayed its welcome or dragged on for too long just to fill in time.
Yeah, so it's it was good, but it opened with the of course the panning shot to Jabba's palace, didn't it? Which I thought was quite nice, and then Fennec dragging that assassin.
Yeah, Jabba's palace, by the way, could use liquor paint.
It could use more bodies, I think, as well. I think he needs more people.
And he needs a new pet.
Yes, well, that was I as I was watching that part, and we'll get to that, where they pull the assassin into the throne room, and Boba interrogates him, and the guy doesn't want to speak.
Well, interrogation is a very broad term. He asks him question, the assassin doesn't answer, and his protocol droid is just going, he's a member of the, what was it called again?
Nightwind.
Nightwind. They will never, under no circumstance, and if no man can make him talk, maybe the Rancor can. And then he drops into the Rancor pit.
Now, did you expect to see Muchi?
We talked about it. You set that thought into my brain, but I actually thought, no, Muchi would be a step too far. Maybe some other Rancor or something else. I really wasn't expecting anything. I was sitting there grabbing my chair saying, what's going to happen? I wonder.
No. I was expecting Muchi, to be honest. I did expect Muchi to turn up. But that's just because they sort of laid that little foundation in the Bad Batch, didn't they? So
yeah.
So, but the thing was empty, and I thought it was quite.
You're jumping ahead a bit. So this assassin is dropped down into the pit where Luke Skywalker has been. The door to the Rancor chamber is opening slowly, and the assassin shits his pants and goes,
yes.
The mayor sent me. The mayor sent me.
Yeah.
And then the door is opened and we see nobody except a little rat.
Yeah. To quote Deadpool, I'm glad I wore the brown trousers, you know. So then we get the scene of them going to visit the mayor, and this is where we got to meet the Ithorian that we see in the trailers.
Yeah.
But of course, Boba has to deal with what's the word we're looking for? Tatooine bureaucracy to get in to see the mayor.
The asset at the entrance.
Yes. First you had this Clark person, and then you had the Major Domo. You know what it is? I really hope he shoots him in the face.
At some point, yeah.
Actually, I get a feeling that Twi'lek Major Domo may become Boba's Major Domo by the end.
I was wondering, the guy at the desk at first, the human.
Yeah.
I thought either I'm not knowing him, or they actually took a quote-unquote nobody to sit in front of the desk just to tease us.
I'm just trying to see who it is, if he's got a credit.
Because that would have been one major point to have somebody have a weird cameo.
No, it doesn't. You know who he does look like, but it's not him. I've got a picture here of him. I thought it was Pedro Pascal.
That would have been amazing.
Because if you look at the picture on Wikipedia from him, he's an identified Clark.
He has a certain resemblance to that person.
It is. It's like, but it doesn't say who it is. So
shame. Maybe it is him, and they just did a bit of more.
A little bit of makeup and stuff like that. Yeah. No, it's played by someone called Galen Howard. Actor, Book of Boba. He's got an IMDb credit. Let's see if there's anything we recognize him from. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Did some Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well. So he's a known, he's not just a one and done nobody, if that makes sense.
No, maybe that's one of these roles where I need to be in this whatever small part I can play. Please let me be extra number 15 or something.
Yeah, his agent drops him saying, "I've got a job for you. Can't say what it is. You're just going to be stand there and be questioning somebody. Do you want it?" So yes, no, he's got a credit. It's just it's nobody that we sort of know or anything. So so we get him
he's
first.
The typical what we call him, clerk.
Yes.
Government official.
Yes.
Do you have an appointment? I can't find your name on the list.
Definitely one of those. And then of course the Twi'lek Major Domo pushes him out the side and goes, "Apologies for the lack of pomp."
Yeah. At that point, I think Boba just decides, well, fuck it, we're going in anyway.
Yeah. And then he enters and we get to see, like I said, the Ithorian. The interesting thing with the Ithorian, the voice of the Ithorian was Robert Rodriguez.
I thought I recognized that voice from somewhere, but I couldn't put my finger.
So it was Robert Rodriguez, who is, of course, the showrunner and director on some of these episodes as well. And it looks like, from what I've read, and this is going back just to general credit thing, Jon Favreau has written all but one of the episodes, but I could be wrong. And the only episode that Jon Favreau hasn't written is the Dave Filoni episode. So Dave Filoni's got an episode this season. Which means we could see Dave Filoni characters turning up like he did with Ahsoka. Because remember, Dave directed the episode and wrote the episode that Ahsoka comes in. And I think it's happening the same with this. He's written and directing the episode that he's doing. So we may see some of his characters turn up. So we may get a Cad Bane appearance. We could get a Hondo.
You really want Cad Bane, don't you?
I would like to see Cad Bane, and I'd like to see Hondo.
Oh, Hondo would be an amazing character in that universe.
And I think he suits. I think both of those characters suit, especially from what we've seen with what happens later in this episode as well. So they go and see the Ithorian, and as they are talking to the mayor about him sending the assassins, his men shoot him. But then the mayor does say that the assassins, the Order of Nightwind, aren't allowed to operate outside of Hutt space, and thanks Fett for turning him in after the killing.
Yeah, and he's even rewarding him, which then Fett brings to voicing, "No, I'm not a bounty hunter anymore."
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit weird how the mayor behaves, I feel. I'd
There's
say he
more
will
to him.
play bigger role in later episodes.
Yeah, there's definitely more to him than what we know or what we've seen. And then the mayor also lays the foundation of work that there's something going on, that it wasn't him that hired him, it was somebody else.
He seems to have the ear to the ground a bit more than Boba does currently.
And sort of points Boba back to Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Or Garsa Fwips. Is it Garsa Fwip? Sanctuary.
The Twilight Lady.
Yes, the Twilight. So Boba, after his encounter with the mayor, heads back to Sanctuary. And enters the Sanctuary, and she puts on some pleasantries, but then Boba comments on the fact that she was, shall we say, sweating.
A wee bit nervous.
A wee bit nervous. And then that's when she sort of lays down the fact that the twins have claimed their late cousins' territory. Yeah, even though Boba turns around and says that the twins are busy on Nar-Hutta with the preoccupation with the debauchery on Hutta.
Yeah, and at that point we hear drums.
Yes.
So even on Tatooine, they dug too deep and they awaken. No, wait, that's something different.
And then Boba goes out with Fennec and tells Fennec to watch his back, as we get our first look at something that I think we both sort of said that probably would turn up, and we get two huts, not just one hut, but two huts.
Yeah,
on the same litter.
Yeah, and I was thinking, are they joint twins? Or is it just two sitting on one big?
It was two sitting on one big litter, because if you look, the tail of the brother was wrapped partially around the one of the sister.
Yeah, but they could still be co-joined at the belly.
No, they weren't conjoined. They were what you call it. They were two separate huts on the same litter. That was bowing in the middle.
A bit.
So you get then you get some back and forth between them, claiming that they claim
banter.
Yes, a little bit of hutties. And then we get the reveal of a new character of sorts, don't we?
Yeah, another walking carpet. Hooray!
Yeah. Just not just any walking carpet though, carrying what looked like a repeating blaster. Yeah,
it actually looked like a MG34.
Yes, it was rather large. So for people who don't know, we got to meet a brand new Wookiee. He's not really a new Wookiee. We got to meet a Wookiee character that comes from the comics.
Yeah, and he's not a nice guy.
He's not a nice Wookiee at all. Called Black Chrysanthemum. Has scar down his face. And if you sort of look up the character, he's from the Dr. Aphra comics. He's had a run. He's worked for Jabba. He's had a run-in with Fett before. He's had a run-in with Chewbacca in the comics and with Kenobi.
Yeah, and
as well.
And he's not really into all this Wookiee honor system. So watch your back.
Yes, he's the character is exiled from Kashyyyk and ended up in the sort of the bounty hunt, and ended up in the pits. Into gladiatorial pits, and that's where when Fett sort of looks at him and sort of comments about, these aren't the death pits of Dur, and I'm not a sleeping Trandoshan guard. That sort of harkens back to sort of the origin of the character and things like that.
Yeah, Fett doesn't really hold back on his dislike of this person.
Mm-hmm. Very, very much, and then. The back and forth goes again with the huts, and where the huts turn around and say that
bloodshed is bad.
Bloodshed is bad for business, and then they sleep. Then they warn him to sleep lightly, and then they head off, and then sort of Black Chrysanthemum growls at Fett as he turns away with him, And then Fennec sort of pops up to Fett and goes, "You're going to need permission to kill them, since they're Hutts." And I think that's a reference to that he would need permission from the Hutt cartel to kill them. But I've got a suspicion that we'll see those two again, or we'll definitely see Black Chrysanthemum again. Because
I think there will be every character we've seen so far will have another appearance.
Yeah.
Even those pesky little, who was it again? Bandits we saw in episode 1 will be reappearing at some point.
Which one? The small scurrying Jawas, or
No, the ones that harassed the moisture farmer and drew the weird.
Well, we sort of see them.
I know. I was hinting at that.
You were hinting at that, were you?
Very subtly.
But that's where we get to see two other characters as well. But you know, I think, you know, this is just generally at, you know, from point of view of the way that they put characters in. You know, characters like, you know, Black Chrysanthemum and stuff, we're not going to you know, they're not going to bring that character in for one and done.
At least we hope.
I don't think we are. I think it's more, you know, that you will, you know, you get these characters appearance, and you know that I think Dave and John and Robert with this are very much, you know, of the opinion, you know, that this isn't going to be a throwaway thing. This is going to be something that's for the long term, because I think the character may turn up, you know, in some of the other episodes, mainly. You know, you never know with this. He might bounce across episodes.
Yeah, I think what they also do very well with, and they did that in Mandalorian as well. They leave every possibility on the floor. They don't waste anything. It's a very resource conscious decisions are made. What to film, who to bring in for what role, and where to put it. And I think they mainly can do this currently because they have their lips sealed. They're not spoiling anything.
That's something that I've noticed a lot of people mentioning about, especially to do with Book of Boba and stuff, is no leaks. We didn't know Hutts were coming in. We didn't know about Black Chrysanthemum.
Hutts were coming. I think that's more or less a given.
Yeah,
and there would be very much disappointing at the Book of Boba if there weren't any Hutts at all.
True, but also the thing with Black Chrysanthemum we didn't know about.
Yeah.
You know, but if you look at season 2 of The Mandalorian, Cobb Vanth, Boba, Ahsoka were all leaked before the episodes aired. Yeah, the only one that wasn't leaked was Luke, which, you know, if that had got out, people would have lost their minds,
and some people would have lost their jobs.
Yes, people would have lost their jobs. But it's interesting that with Boba, that we've had no character leaks. There's been speculation. There's a lot of speculation. I mean, there's a lot of fans thinking that we're going to get to see Kira and people like that because of the Crimson Dawn.
But maybe that's due to the main character's inability to keep secrets, that they somehow added a layer of "you need to shut up."
Maybe. But then we get a Fett to the Bacta tank, which is basically, let's put a flashback in.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting way of getting the story from A to B. Put him in the Bacta, and then we'll get a dream sequence, quote unquote.
Yeah,
and
put him in the back. We'll get the flashback.
At this point, he's back in the what do you call it? Village.
He's learning how to fight. I think is probably the best thing, isn't it? With the gaffy stick.
A dummy gaffy stick. So it's more than the stick that the kid has. It's already has the weighted end, but it's still just a blunt instrument.
Yeah, it's just a practice. And while they're practicing, of course, he sees something off in the distance, doesn't he? See some sand and stuff. Now, I thought when I saw that, is that going to be a crate dragon?
The first thing is we didn't see anything. We heard something that sounded awfully familiar, like the original Cryo Dragon scream that Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original episode did.
Well, that's why I thought it was, are we going to get to see a crate dragon? But it wasn't. It was a hover train, and with
I-
the
yes. Go on.
It was we got the basically it was as it gets approaches closer and closer, it's a hover train, and then we see them the inhabitants or the passengers in the train firing at the Tuscans, killing a bantha.
Yeah, and a very big one at that. But I was the same. I thought there would be a Cry Dragon or something similar, but then seeing it was a mechanical beast, my first thought was, okay, they're going to plunder this. They're going to raid it, and no, they get their asses handed to them.
Yeah, they get
they lose a couple of people, a bantha.
And then we see them later on, sort of cuts to the nighttime of them burning the dead.
Yeah, and it's not a small pile.
It's not. And then Fett basically carrying a young Tuscan. I don't think it's the same one though.
No, we see that one later in the episode.
We see that later on. To the remains, and then heads over to the leader and tells him the chieftain, and tells him I can stop the train.
Yeah, I take stick and gun, and I'll stop the train.
I'll be back in the morning.
Then he walks off.
Heading to, from what the description is here that I've got in front of us, just for reminders, it's they're saying it was Toshi Station.
Oh, that's Toshi Station? Well,
yeah,
that's a letdown.
Now, a couple of people on other reaction videos have went, no, it's not Toshi Station because it looks different. But hang on, we never saw Toshi Station in...
only the outside.
We didn't even see the outside.
If you see the outtakes from the original movie,
that's what I'm on about. Yeah, there's the deleted scenes from the original movie where they actually go inside and stuff, and Luke playing with a T. Is he playing with a T-16 in there?
Yeah, no, they're watching the skies because there's the battle happening.
Yes, yeah. There's Biggs and Cammy and Liz and his friends are in there and stuff. So, and supposedly the layout is different, but we never actually get this. We've never seen it anywhere else. We've never seen it. We've heard of Toshi Station, but we've never actually seen it.
No, not the interior.
No. So this is a possibly it is Toshi Station, but of course Fett travels there. But before we see Fett entering the station, we see a bunch of Niktos. Now they're saying they're Nikto miners, but I don't think they are. I think they're all part of the same gang that we saw.
I think that's pretty much given when you see the close-up on the hover bikes. There's the gang symbol again.
Yeah. I mean, I've left a bit out where Fett. The reason Fett says that he'll help them stop the train is he sees a bunch of the speeders passing the camp, heading off, and it's the same collection of speeders heading off to this outpost, this Toshi Station. So the Niktos are in there. They're harassing the patrons, and two of the patrons in there are Cammy and Liz, which were the two of Luke's friends. And as the Niktos are harassing people, and then he sort of says this isn't right, prompting the Nikto to say something, and basically start to try and beat him up, and then the doors open and Fett walks in, and it's very much the old Western thing, isn't it? Where
it's the only thing that was missing was the chiming of his spurs and maybe someone with a harmonica. Yeah. So he gets in there and then just beats the crap out of the bandits.
Yeah, he breaks his gun, which I thought was great. He was just like beating over this guy.
And he's looking at it in disbelief after the gun breaks in half and going, what? Okay, then I just use my stick.
Yeah, I'll just use my stick. Did you notice though that he was in there, he was all nice and calm, and then his face changed. He put on that Maori, that Maori war face almost as he was.
Yeah, I got that several times.
Yeah, it's like, oh dear, I really don't want to. We really don't want to mess him. So he beats them up, killing and wounding them, and then goes out, finishes the drink, and then walks outside and steals the speeder bikes, which I thought was quite cool. And then
he's
of
not
course
only
takes them,
stealing one, he's stealing all five of them.
all of them. So this is then we get to a training montage would be probably the best way to describe it, wasn't it? About showing Tuscans how to use the speeder bikes, which I thought was quite neat.
Boba Fett driving instructor.
Yes.
Oh, just a short correction on my side. I was a bit nosy and I had to look. There is actually pictures of Toshi Station inside, at least one.
Right.
Yeah, but given the picture, or just from the picture, I couldn't tell you if the station at all would have been much different. The walls look similar, but the rest is, well, it's just a pile of junk.
Yeah, so yeah,
and it's 20 years later or something.
I was going to say, yeah, it's the whole, it's that late, isn't it? The time period, you know. So
yeah, probably the third or fourth person inheriting that bar for whatever reason, so it can look different. People, it's a living universe. Things change. Get used to it.
Well, in the timeline, it's about 10 years later, but yeah, it's 20 or 30 years since we originally
on a planet full of roughnecks and weird people of questionable morals can lead to frequent redecorations of interiors.
Definitely. But then, like I said, we get the whole Boba Fett driving instructor teaching them how to use the bikes, which I thought was quite interesting.
Like the Panther, and then he does galloping, which looked a bit silly, but then again.
But then you get the typical non-technical character, or a character that's not used to technology, trying to use technology and doing it wrong. So it was the whole almost like the Ewoks on the speeder bikes.
My thoughts exactly. The Ewoks again, the speeder goes, but it goes backwards.
Yeah, he does the whole backwards thing, but he trains them and helps them to use
It's a very dare I say 80s montage of things like when the A-Team were building their weird stuff.
Yes.
So gradually improving their skills of driving, doing stunts, and we can clearly see what they are planning to do while taking over the train.
Yeah, so it was very much leading to that thing, and then of course Fett has a little before the train has a little exchange with the kid as well about signaling the rest of the tribe, I'm assuming.
Yeah, using mirrors as a long-way communication.
And it's the rest of this tribe, not any of the other tribes.
Yeah.
Within this other rest of this clan, which I thought was good. And then one of the Tuscans spots the train and sends out a signal, so we get the whole 310 from Yuma, them jumping on the bikes and heading to basically take on the train.
Yeah,
and this is where we.
Some others are acting as diversion. Another Panther gets killed.
Yeah, is this the first time that we saw the who was firing from the train, or did we see that originally?
No, in the first passing, they were too far away. We didn't see.
Right.
We saw, if I remember correctly, there were gun barrels pointing out windows, but they were shown from above, so we didn't see any faces or masks in that case.
Where we do in this one, where we see it is the Pikes. You know, we see it's the Pikes.
And I was sitting there, and I was not getting the names. I was completely irritated. I know these faces. I know they have a name. Why can't I remember?
Yeah, you should have went to Atomic Mass Games and went the Shadow Collective. Oh, there they are.
Do you think that's maybe because, or maybe they get this new faction because Book of Boba Fett has something, or maybe somebody at Disney said, well, it would be nice if these could make an appearance in that game.
No, I think it's because they appeared originally in the 4 episodes of Clone Wars Season 7 with Ahsoka on a walkabout. That's where we first got to meet the Pikes properly.
Yeah,
and you've got to remember what was said, that this is 18 months. There's an 18-month lead time.
Yeah, but the stories for the Book of Boba should have been made in advance, way before then too.
I don't know, because I don't think they were possibly they didn't know about the Book of Boba. I don't think anybody knew about the Book of Boba until after the first season of The Mandalorian.
Well, I'm not saying that Atomic Mass Games had any insight
No.
about the Book of Boba, but maybe somebody at Disney who has a more coherent overview of everything was, okay, we've got these interesting characters in this series, and they will make a reappearance in the Book of Boba. Maybe we should use them in other ways too.
Maybe it might be in that, but
I
think it was
a
more
total coincidence.
I think it's partly coincidence, but I think it also links back to the 4 episodes of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Because, where we're talking about gaming and Atomic Mass, remember we're getting a new version of Maul in amongst that set as well. We're getting the Maul with 2 legs and the Darksaber and the twin lightsaber. So I think it's all leading into the Maul.
2 legs? My Maul has 2 legs too.
Well, as in 2 bionic legs.
Ah, okay. Shiny, brand new legs.
Yes, his new legs. We're getting that version of Maul, not the version of Maul. Not the spider version of Maul. But then
the spider version.
Yes. But then we get, like I said, we get to see who's firing and who's protecting this train, and it's the Pike Syndicate. So we get the whole them charging the train bridge pretty much, and bunch of the Tuscans showing, basically jumping on top. A couple of Tuscans. It's not said really. I'm assuming they're dead, but I'm assuming possibly not, because we don't know. It's not really said, isn't it, where one of the things, one of the Tuscans jump up and they get shot at, and all sorts, where the bike gets shot.
Well, I'm guessing there will be 1 or 2 casualties, but they will not be mentioned anymore at some point. What I found hilarious was when we first see the driver of the train and the inside of the train cab, which is basically a steam engine with an android in the center, which is a complete hilarious back to Lawrence of Arabia again.
Yes, it was very much Lawrence of Arabia. The attack on the train was very much, and a lot of people have said that's where possibly the inspiration has come from.
If you look at the artwork at the end, the Tuscans are wearing white. and something on their head that definitely looks like somebody nicked that art 1-to-1 from a film frame from Lawrence of Arabia.
Shall we talk about the female Tuscan warrior that's just kicking ass?
I think she deserves a name by now, even if we don't have one yet. But
I know the actress is a stunt person. Who's playing the Tuscan. She's doubled for a lot of sort of characters. She's doubled for Gal Gadot and things like that, in the Wonder Woman films and things like that.
So basically, the Tuscans try to climb aboard on the hover train. The droid kicks some more gear levers, and some people get blown off from the what's it called, turbine on the top. And at one point, our advancing friends get trapped because 3 pikes have them locked down with fire. And at that point, this female lead from the Tuscans just rams her speeder bike into the train, jumps aboard the ship, and then starts wreaking havoc within, just kicking ass, taking names, and just shoving everybody off the train.
Indeed, just going absolutely
using your wacky stick, doing whack, exactly. You're gone.
Doing lots of wacky things with a wacky stick. But yes, it was just generally, I think that character, because there was a scene previously where they were training and Fett knocks that gaffy out of her hand. She does a roll and then catches it and then sweeps his legs out from under it. Yeah, I just think, just generally that character seems to be, it's like the the episodes anyway, these 2 episodes, we've joked, we have joked, with Lawrence of Tatooine, and dances with panthers and things like that. But it's what we said from the first episode, very much building character and very much filling in a collection of characters that everybody saw from the prequel to the original trilogy as just mindless, almost like a throwaway thought. If you think of it this way, the Tuscans,
yeah, and we also get the some backstory, I think, at that point, where, or a little bit earlier even, that the Tuscans, the different tribes, live different ways of life. So it's not like they're all the same. No, some of them, like the one Boba Fett is currently in, is more or less living and hiding and trying not to be seen. Others are going a more violent way, and that may be then those that had been that those who have been slain by Anakin Skywalker back in the episodes we don't mention anymore. But overall, it's not one tribe of people. It's multiple tribes with different ways of life, and I think they really show this off, especially by the way the clothes are wearing and what colors they have.
Yeah. So the Fett's forces, with the Tuscans, stop the train. There's
they get shit done, and every surviving Pike is being rounded up, and at that point, Boba Fett is already
holding
having a very interesting pose, to say the least.
Very much seems to be holding court and asking who the leader was.
Yeah.
What's interesting is the leader takes the mask off, which that's the first time we've seen the Pikes without the mask on.
No, not really. If you look closer, there are several Pikes sitting in the crowd not wearing a mask.
No, what I meant was just generally in sort of the general consensus of seeing the Pikes, because every time else we've seen the Pikes, because the previous times we saw the Pikes were in the animated in Clone Wars, was they wore that helmet and they didn't take it off. So this is the first time we've actually seen them without.
And they don't look so much different from what the helmet is.
It's very much. It reminds me a little bit of a fish. So it was a little bit more, maybe not Mon Cala or Corin, but that sort of thing.
A bit very more like an amphibious thing. Like an what they're called, Oxoatl.
Or the sea cow.
No, there's a lizardy type thing that's very pale and has lungs and what they're called.
Gills.
Yeah, gills. And they look, from facial expression is nearly the same.
Right. So yes, and then of course Fett asks who the leader is, and he said he's not going to kill them. But he asks, it depends on how they answer the questions. And then, of course, the first question he asks is, "Do you have is there any spice?" And the leader goes, "What spice?" And then 2 Tuscans happen to fall over carrying a crate.
One step before, Fett actually makes the question going, the spice of the mines of whatever.
Oh, the death mines, the slave mines of Kessel.
Yeah, and what would that look like? And at that moment, the coffer gets thrown next to them, breaks open like that.
Yes, which I thought was quite. Yes, like that. So so basically, it's we know that they're smuggling spice, and that's what the train was protecting. But of course, then we get all of the Tuscans' weapons and things. So this clan of Tuscans have now got better weapons and things like that. And then Fett basically tells the Pikes that you can pass. It's no longer free to pass along the Dune Sea.
Yeah. How did he put it?
The Tuscans claim the territory as ancestral ground.
Yeah, they claim ancestral claim to the grounds, and you may pass if you pay a fee.
Yes, if you pay a fee. And of course then he warns, saying if you
kill any of them, the deaths will be repaid tenfold.
definitely. So it's the whole, it's the warning, isn't it, to them of that.
Don't tread on me, as the Texans would say.
And then he says to them, that you're free to go anchor heads that direction.
Yeah.
And then the pike
just
asks
follow
about
that sun.
Yeah, and the pike asks about water, and he tells him you can take some black melon, I think it was.
Yeah, 1 black melon each, and you will
drink from
make
its milk
it in time.
And then he basically shoos them on his way as the Tuscans start to plunder the cart and then smack open the water car.
Yeah, and at that point they are really starting to party.
Yeah, and then we get the party, and then we get into the sort of the final section of it where they're all
now
sitting
we get
around.
to a very weird part of the episode.
Well, the interesting thing about that bit is in the beginning of that section, the Tuscan, the chieftain of the tribe, explained that there used to be oceans before they dried up.
Yeah.
Which is, yes, we sort of, everybody assumed that Tatooine Tatooine had oceans, but it's never been specifically said. It's never been, stated anywhere. I think a lot of what we know is very much of fan conjecture, things like that. There's a lot of us as fans over this period of time of 40 odd years have filled in a lot of blanks.
Imagination has run wild amongst some people.
Yes, and then of course we did have legends bits and things like that, but there's never been anything specifically explicit about Tatooine per se,
No. And then the chieftain gifts him a special gift, a small cage with an even tinier lizard in it.
Indeed.
And at this point, people with a weak stomach, close your eyes.
Yes, because then we get Boba Fett, Vision Quest.
Yeah. If anybody remembers the scene from was it Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan?
With the
ear creepy thing. We get a similar thing, only through the nose, literally.
Yes, it jumps up through the nose. The lizard, and is it before?
Boba thanks the chieftain is a bit irritated because he doesn't know what to do, and then the chieftain sprays something into his direction. He blinks, and the bugger, cheeky little bugger as he calls him, jumps into his nose, and I think I swallowed him. And then the chieftain just tells him, he will lead you from inside.
Yes, Chief gives him the lizard. The lizard then jumps into his head. The chief then blows the I'm assuming it's a version of spice or whatever,
I think he blows first, and at this so this is a hand shot first moment. The blowing of the dust precedes the jumping of the lizard by a fraction of a second.
Yeah, it's that type of thing, and then we get Boba doing basically blurry vision and body convulsions, and then he's waking up, finding himself walking across the desert. He has a vision of trees and oceans.
One big tree, which is hauntingly set with glowing red eyes. And at first I thought, okay, here we go. Where's the white rabbit?
and then we get a flashback of him cutting through the Mars Sarlacc and on Camino as well, and watching Slave One leave. And then the vision ends with him emerging while the ocean's roaring around him, but also he's got a hold of the Maw of Sarlacc and he's snapping it. But it's also a tree. He comes in as a tree. He grabs
one of the branches are entangling him, and he grabs one of them, breaks him, and that's more or less the end of his dream sequence. And the next thing we see is him getting back to camp, carrying a large chunk of tree.
Yeah, which then we get him. The lizard pops out of his nose and jumps back into the
tiny cage.
The tiny cage, and Fett remarks he thought it was a dream, and the chieftain gets him to show him the branch, and then some Tuscans lead him away as he then gets basically his clothes.
Yeah,
his
he's
Tuscan
getting
robe. He
proper
gets his
tribal clothes.
robes. Yeah. So we get the Boba Fett that we see in episode 6. Well, episode 1 of the Mandalorian at the end, and episode 6 of the Mandalorian, the black robes with the gun and the gaffy and everything. So we get that costume of Fett.
And then the child from the first episode takes him to a
forge,
a weird place in the middle of the desert that looks like a crashed vehicle of some kind.
Which is that Ralph McQuarrie artwork that we mentioned with the Tuscan in front of the crashed vehicle, and that's exactly the same sort of scene from that artwork. And then this is where Boba makes his, from the piece of wood that he got from the tree, makes his own gaffy stick.
Yeah,
and that was really interesting, because I think everybody, I'm one of these people that thought the gaffy stick was all metal.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, to a degree, but at the same time, I was also when I saw the kid with the wooden gaffy stick, and then later him with the practice gaffy stick, I said, well, maybe wood is something special to these people, because it's not nothing that's in abundance.
Yeah. So we see him making the gaffy stick, which involved the metal, the wood being shaved down and shaped, and then covered
in little insignias
carved
and something,
and then carved and then plated with metal. So it's metal over wood, with then the with the different bits being added and stuff, in a metal and a metal hilt added for the longer part of the shaft and stuff like that.
Yeah, the spiky bit with the side wings is metal, but the upper part with the giant acorn-looking part, that's wood.
And then he heads back into camp at night, and with the rest of the clan, basically does a tribal dance.
Yeah, which is
and that's where the episode ends, which is very much and I know they mentioned this in the gallery series for episode, when Boba turns up, and we were chatting with Tamura Morrison and the weaponsmiths and things like that, and everybody, is Tamura wanted to bring in some of the Maori culture into Fett, into his fighting. And I think what they've done is they've taken parts of the Maori culture, like the dance, the tribal dance and stuff like that, and they've brought that in as part of the Tuscan thing, along with their references to, say, Native American cultures and things like that. So I think they're trying to be inclusive in what they're trying to do. We, like I said, we joke about dancers with banthas, or
yeah, and
things like that. But still, it's very clever in the way that they're doing it.
Yeah, and if we go back to the original Sand people we saw at in Star Wars: A New Hope, they were basically just weird people living in the desert, killing everybody who's getting into their sights. And in the prequels, they weren't very much better either.
No,
not at least not depicted in any more favorable way. And this is the first time we can see them as, well, they're normal people just trying to live their lives. Then at least this tribe is not trying to do it on the shoulders of everybody else, but for themselves.
Yeah. On the whole, though, I mean, it was like we said, I think it was a very compact. The episode was structured where it was half current timeline, half let's fill in some of the background to Boba still.
Yeah.
And I think I think we might get that in episode 3 as well. But I think maybe from episode 4 onwards, we may not get as many flashbacks.
Yeah, I guess at some point the most of his backstory will be told, and then it will be just the new story going on. And given the length of this episode, I'm really glad they chose to keep it in this format. And I think there may have been talks about just stretching the contents a bit and making 2 episodes from it, because then we would have 2 30-minute episodes, and I think that would have been for the worse.
Yes.
Because the balance of old and new, or past and current Boba is really something that makes the story work.
Yeah. It did, and I mean, I've seen online people complain. You get the I
You've seen
watched.
people complain online. Can't
Oh
be.
yeah, yeah,
Impossible.
there's that vocal minority. But I tell you what I did watch is I started watching Star Wars Theory, and him and another YouTuber were doing, we're talking about the episodes, and they pulled up some how people, how the media, the people like Forbes and the big media companies like that are saying that this isn't as popular as The Mandalorian because of, and they're using Rotten Tomatoes as a gauge. They're using, the
Mm-hmm.
scores from Rotten Tomatoes as a gauge. But then you have someone like Star Wars Theory who put out a poll on his YouTube channel when they were talking about this, yeah, and it was like 90% of the people that were there, like the viewers of him. Yes, granted, his audience may be a little more biased, but 90% of them loved it. 90% and 10% or 12%, whatever the percentages were, I don't know what they were exactly, were like, yeah, maybe this isn't my Star Wars. But when I don't think you can gauge the success of a show of 2 episodes because it's a different show to The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and also I think the only instance there who could actually be telling something about the success or lack thereof would be Disney or anybody who has access to the actual numbers on how often episodes are streamed. And I would be really surprised if the numbers on the Book of Boba weren't as good as the Mandalorians.
They may not be as good as Mandalorians, but I would be surprised if they weren't up there with, say, things that have just come out like Hawkeye, Falcon Winter Soldier, the big IPs. Yeah,
No,
I think
that the Book of Boba and the Mandalorian would be eye to eye. Simply of the way the Book of Boba has been introduced to people, and the fact that Boba Fett himself is a loved character, and they really depict him well. I think for something that has been, I dare I say, he past his prime because he's getting old and is wounded, but it's a character progression that makes sense. It's not like, he's the immortal, over powerful bounty hunter and he kills with one blink of an eye. No, he gets his ass handed to him when somebody is better than him because he's getting older and tries to live a different style of life.
Well, that's it. And I mean, I saw people bitching and moaning about the first episode where he was getting his ass handed to, and I think people forget out of context that the fact is when he was getting his handed to it, he's just climbed out of a sarlacc, and we don't actually know how long he was in the sarlacc pit for. Either as well. There's no time. There's no time set between him coming out the sarlacc and then him, say, getting his armor back and meeting Cobb Vanth, or losing his armor, then meeting the Tuscans. There's no said, he could have been in there for a couple of years because remember, supposedly you're being digested over.
Well,
over 1,000 years.
I think he's gotten out relatively quick, but even if he had been out the next day, lying in the sun in the desert for at least one day, is really taking its toll on somebody. And no, if there's 4 people used to living in the desert coming up to you and then kicking the shit out of you, you're getting the shit kicked out. As simple as that.
Yeah,
and the same later in the episode when he's with Fennec and the 2 of them get kicked around. Yeah, because they are surpassed 4-1.
Yeah, I saw people complaining about that as well, and was like, "Oh, for the love of God!"
It's not a super movie hero thingamajig.
Because I think a lot of the people that are complaining are the fanboys that that are still living in their heads with Boba is this ultimate, this ultimate badass that he was portrayed by George or by the Legends novels, and things like that. And it's like, well,
then again, look at how he quote unquote died in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a bad mishap. Han hit him with a stick on the end of his jetpack, and he bumped his head on Jabba's barge.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he's not flawless in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And as far as I know, he never took on giant attack crowds. He always worked from the shadows or something.
True. He was very much a he's a bounty hunter.
Well, he was. Now he's the daimyo.
Yeah. I was going to say he was. He wouldn't go head to head against.
No. Why would you?
Against something
always
stuff
tip
like that.
the chances in your favor if you can, and if that means working from the shadows or from the distance or having superior firepower, then you would be foolish not to implement that. There's no honor in being dead.
No. Well, I've just picked up the name of the actress who's playing the lead Tuscan, or the female Tuscan, and it's Joanna Bennett. And her credits, she's got 66 credits as a stunt person.
Jeebus.
including stunt double for Karen Gillian and Brie Larson on Avengers Endgame. Captain Marvel, so that's Brie Larson. She was on Captain Marvel. She was the stunt double for Amber Heard and Nicole Kidman on Aquaman. She's uncredited as a stunt double and motion capture performance for Ant-Man and the Wasp. She was Karen Gillian's stunt double again for Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Gal Gadot and stunt double on Justice League. So there's a lot of,
she knows how to kick somebody.
She knows how to kick button. As you look down. She was the stunt double for Adriana Pelec in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that was Bobby Moss. That they brought in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So she's done a lot of work, but she has actress credits down, and that's what the Book of Boba Fett she's down as an actress.
But nothing named.
Not a name. It just says Tuscan Warrior. So they have not done a name yet, but I can see that character getting an action figure.
Oh yes. That's the new role model for every little girl out there.
Yes.
Kicking ass, taking names.
Well, I just got a bunch of action figures this week. Yes, I got my Black Series.
Did you see anything? No, Lord, we didn't see you playing with your little toy soldiers.
No, little toys, no. So I got my Black Series Cosca Reeve. So that's the Sasha Banks character from Mando. I had that on pre-order with somewhere else, but it didn't turn up. I'd ordered it last April, so I cancelled it and went to Hasbro Pulse, and it came within 2 days of us ordering it, which isn't bad. But because I cancelled the order, I got some store credit with the company that I was doing stuff with, so I got some stuff that I knew was in stock. So I got a Boba Fett, a Grand Admiral Thrawn, and a Armada Black Series. So if they ever do a nice Armada miniature or a Grand Admiral Thrawn miniature, not that it's difficult to paint Thrawn, that'll be useful.
A bit white, a bit blue, done.
Yep. White, blue, black hair, maybe some red eyes if I'm feeling generous to try and paint in the face. But yeah. So yes, it's there. And we have a credit on who played. I'm just looking through the credits now because they've come up through the Wikipedia on who played Black Chrysanthemum. It's an actor called Kerry Jones. He's makeup artist, visual effects, and actor. So he looks like he's a makeup artist. Yeah, he's got a makeup artist credits.
So he knew what he was going in for that role.
Yeah, so he's got 50 credits as a makeup artist, and a lot of the later ones it's a lot of horror. So it's like Lovecraft Country and The Walking Dead and things like that. He's got 10 acting credits as Black Chrysanthemum on the Book of Boba, and additional crew and stunts and things like that as well. He was a puppeteer on Jurassic Park 3.
That's quite a widespread spectrum.
Yeah, he's got puppeteer credits, he's got stunt credits, he's got art department credits, and then he's got visual effect makeup department credits as well. So
either he's a very curious one, or he's very bad at everything.
Or he's just what do you call it? Across the front. He's actually down as playing a predator in Predators. He was in the Predators movie, which is that the last one that came out? Or is that the one with Adrian Brody? No, that's the one with Adrian Brody where they're all on the planet, where they all get.
The last Predator movie I saw was with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right. Well, this is the one that they did in 2010. It's the one that they did in 2010. Where he plays one of the Predators, so he must be a tall actor.
Well, if he's playing a Wookiee, you need to be a tall actor.
Yes. All we need now is for them to do the throwdown between Black Chrysanthemum and Chewbacca, like from the comics.
I'm not seeing that happen.
No, I can't see that happen either. Yeah. But no, on the whole, what would you rate this one, Tim? Is this do you think this is an improvement over episode 1?
Improvement over episode 1, yes, simply because it feels a bit more coherent. But I think that's more or less down to the fact that the first episode needed to explain so many things in a very short time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a solid 8 out of 10 for me personally.
I agree. But 8 and 8 or 8.5. I thought it is a solid. It's a solid second episode, and I think it just
if
expanded
the train scene
more.
wouldn't have been such a blatant ripoff of Lords of Arabia, I think it would have been a bit higher on the list. But yeah, that's just somebody's taking the I'm getting inspirations mantra a bit too literal.
Yeah. But it is I mean, we can say that about a lot of things, can't we? And things like
honest,
that,
it fits. It fits perfectly.
Well, we know that's where George got some of his inspiration, from samurai movies and westerns and things like that, didn't he? So
Yeah, I guess that's why we can absolutely work with this, because it stems from the same gene pool. It's the same origin story, if you will. So it doesn't feel off.
Yeah, it's from that whole the DNA that it comes from Dave and John and even Robert. I think they've all Dave especially, we knew, sat at George's right hand, didn't he? For everything he did on Clone Wars, leading up to before George sold to Disney.
George is having his hands in everything.
Yeah, I've got a suspicion that George, like he was with the Mandalorian, has probably been on set. Has been invited in, and is possibly still a little bit of a consultant, because I think as well, not just the Mandalorian, but I think George was a consultant on Solo as well. I think they had him in.
I'd be highly surprised if he wouldn't have any clause in that selling contract that gives him access to watch things or read things.
Yeah, I tell you what I did watch, and it's an old episode, and it's Star Wars adjacent, shall we say. It is Jon Favreau. People know John, director of Iron Man, does all of the stuff with the Mando and stuff. Has a Netflix series called The Chef. It's based. He did a film called Chef, where he plays a chef that's basically falls out of love of cooking, but ends up opening a food truck and travels with his son, down from I think New Orleans, or from Florida, New Orleans, and then back to Los Angeles. Yeah, and he learned how to cook properly. So the consultant cook that he has, they did a show on Netflix called Chef, or The Chef. And one of the episodes is John cooking at Skywalker Ranch for the people that are there, the fire, because they've got their own. Skywalker Ranch has its own fire department and stuff. So they cook all the ingredients from Skywalker Ranch, but Dave Filoni's comes and helps them, and it's at the same time as they're writing. This episode was filmed the first season of The Mandalorian. Because they're talking about the show that we are writing. They don't name it. They don't name it anything. They just say the show that we're writing and things like that in it. But it was just interesting to see, that they're in Skywalker Ranch. It has its own it's got its own winery. It's got its own vineyards. You can buy Skywalker Ranch wine. And it has its own produce as well.
Do we get blue milk?
Not quite. But I know there's where we were talking about at the beginning, the thing about Kevin Smith doing his podcast. He does it. It's something called the Scum and Villainy Cantina. which is a bar in Los Angeles that one of his friends set up and runs, and they were able to get bottles of Skywalker Ranch wine in, so you can actually buy it to be served over the counter. I think the blue milk you can get at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't trust anything that's being poured out there.
Yeah, that's blue especially. It's like eating yellow snow, isn't it? Don't do it.
I don't trust the American Food Safe and Healthy Administration. Not in the slightest. Sorry, though.
Yeah.
If there were blue milk in the Star Wars part of Disney Park Paris, I'd say it's safe. But
I'm surprised they haven't moved. They haven't looked to doing that yet. To move it to doing a mini Galaxy's Edge or whatever across in, Euro Disney.
Well, depends on how much that actually costs and how good and well Disney Paris is actually visited. I can't tell you.
True. Never been to Disneyland Paris.
Neither have I.
Never.
And looking at the prices, I think I never will.
Now, if I'm going to pay that price, I'll save up and go to Florida or the other one and go to the other one. But yeah, he has an interesting one. Is, do you think now that they've done the whole at Galaxy's Edge, you can build a droid, you can build a lightsaber. Do you think we'll build your own gaffy stick?
No, it would take too long. The woodworking would be insane.
Yes.
Maybe as a weekend course masterclass in their weird hotel that doesn't get you access to the park, but just the spaceship.
Oh, you mean the £6,000?
Yeah.
Was it $6,000 for, say, 2 adults over 48 hours?
Yeah, something ridiculous like that, and then you have to add everything.
Yes.
Let's not go there.
Yes, that is just insane. But anyway, I must admit, I do agree with you with about 8.5 for the episode, and I am looking forward to Wednesday. I always look forward to Wednesdays to see what drops on Disney Plus now, because we know there's a bunch of stuff. It's the era of Star Wars and it's the era of Marvel on Disney Plus this year. I think we know that we're getting Bad Batch, Andor, and Kenobi and Mando, so we're getting 5 Star Wars things coming this year on Disney Plus. And I know that we're getting probably 3 Marvel things that I'm interested in on there as well. So
yeah, I'm currently personally still waiting for Atomic Mass Games to finally get the thumb out of their bottoms and make some proper announcements, or at least get their shitty website up and running. Atomic Mass Games, when Army Painter is able to whip out a new homepage and you don't, you're on the losing end.
I was going to say the fact is when Army Painter manages to get out a full set of new paints and do videos for it, and an announcement in like a month, it's like, yeah, please, we need, yes, it's been all well and good, and I've watched some of their painting. I watched the painting thing on Wednesday, which was them doing the Gauntlet Fighter.
Yeah, the second part.
The second part of the Gauntlet Fighter, and then of course the playthrough on Thursday. But it was like, can you please make some announcements for Legion this year, please?
Yeah, it's for the last 6 or 8 weeks they haven't shown anything new at the slightest.
No,
everything is all the same. Yeah, repainting X-wing ships, great deal. Making battle reports, great deal. There's a fuck ton of channels out there that do the same. You're the one with the inside knowledge. Make something happen.
But it was the one call as well. Was Boba before Christmas where they were painting the new Boba Fett mini? Was that before Christmas? It was, wasn't it?
I couldn't tell you. I would need to look that up. I think it was, but I couldn't really tell you.
I think it was the week before Book of Boba dropped, because they were painting the new sculpt. But which means if they've got the sculpt there, then surely that'll be a release within the next, I would say, the first quarter of this year. But I guess
it's something that's exclusive to the new faction sets.
True, but could the lack of announcements also be linked to the sales that have been going through from FFG? well, Asmodee, because isn't Atomic's Mass still owned by Asmodee?
Yeah, but so is FFG, and I don't think that has any impact whatsoever.
Right. Mm. Because that's what I was wondering if AMG was its own, like its own publisher thing, Atomic Mass Games.
No, I think the rights belong to Asmodee Group, and Asmodee Group is just handing it down to the studios. Because if it wasn't like, if the license hadn't been with Asmodee, Fantasy Flight wouldn't be able to sell them off. Disney makes sure of that.
Yeah, true. But also, I guess what's annoying about it is the fact that this past week alone, they've announced 2 Marvel expansions.
Yeah, and their homepage is still very much Marvel exclusive, which is annoying as hell, because they don't only have Marvel, they have X-Wing, Legion, and Armada. And I know they said Armada would be on hold regarding development of new things, but X-Wing surely isn't, because there were some new units coming out, and they said they do something for Legion, but they haven't shown anything since their last meeting online?
Yeah,
mini extravaganza.
The mini extravaganza, yeah. So I really don't know. It is a little frustrating.
Yeah.
With this.
But then again, that gives me time to paint miniatures.
Yes, yes, it does. It does indeed. I mean, I was looking, and I'm not condoning this by any way, but I was looking at saving a little money once I get my clones done and doing a full Mandalorian force.
Yeah.
And getting minis from some 3D prints.
Third-party vendors.
Yes, third-party vendors, because there's a lot of third-party vendors out there that have, them, that have, sets of buying, the models and stuff. So.
Maybe that's why we're not hearing anything from Atomic Mass Games, because the sculptors at Atomic Mass Games are just sitting there crying, "We can't beat them, they're better than us."
Yeah, I was going to say that's the thing, isn't it? It is the whole that you've got individuals that are able to churn out sculpts of stuff that's just dropped on TV.
Yeah, people for not knowing, the Wookiee character that aired in this episode had a 3D model almost 24 after being seen on television.
Yeah,
which is insane.
It wasn't just the Wookiee. There was a new Boba Fett sculpt as well to go with it.
Yeah, but that could have been in the making for any length of time. But the Wookiee?
Oh yeah, very much.
Let's cut it at this. The episode is long enough. I'd say I'll be quite happily be watching next week's episodes coming
definitely
Wednesday. I hope I get time to do that before the Rumble in the Jungle is. And I thank everybody for listening and watching. I thank Ralph for being here. And I say, stay safe, stay sane, and stay inside.
Stay inside, yeah. And drink.
Remain indoors.
Exactly.
Goodbye.